what made me start teaching? That's a long process. I always knew I wanted to become a teacher though. So when I was young, playing sports, I always knew that I wanted other people to do well because I was pretty athletic as a kid. And so even sports like soccer, which I'm not good at, I was still relatively good at. And I loved seeing other kids like score goals and stuff like that. That's my earliest memory of wanting to be a teacher, of like one of my teammates scoring a goal and like how happy they got from it. And so that kind of piqued my interest of like wanting to help other people succeed and seeing that like joy of finishing something or completing something or achieving something that they didn't think that they could have gotten. So that was the first part of it, and then it started in classes, and that's just transformed over into classes. And I don't really remember in classes a lot like as a kid, but as I just progressed through like third, fourth, and fifth grade, I really enjoyed learning, and then I enjoyed helping people in like subjects that I was good at, which surprisingly, which is some of my kids think it's funny, is like math I was relatively good at, which I'm not good at now. But it was just like helping kids through problems like that really made me happy, because then I started to struggle in other classes like sciences and stuff. And then when other people would help me, I would be like so appreciative of that. So I think that's what it originally started from, and then it's kind of morphed into what I am today. The qualities of a good teacher, I mean, first and foremost, like caring, of course. You have to be really caring for kids and people in general too, because it's not just about you and working with kids, but also working with other people too. So very caring. I think hard work is a lot into it too, because I'm very, very passionate about work ethic and people. So I think work ethic is another massive one, because you're working harder at teaching because you're trying to get kids to achieve things, or you're trying to teach them things, and that's not always going to work out. So like there's going to be so many times where you experience working really, really hard, but it not paying off. So I think that's why hard work is such a big thing, or you put so much time into this one lesson and then that lesson completely tanks. And that's kind of just part of the process, I think. So hardworking, caring, patient. Patience is a massive one, of course, just being patient with kids. And it's funny because Ariana was talking about this yesterday, I think, about, we were kind of joking with it, but it was like, if a kid is really upset with you, or is like, I hate you, or like doing things that would offend you as a teacher, once you learn that patience and you learn that there's something deeper to that, it doesn't affect you as much. Because at the start, you're like, oh my gosh, like that hurts like deep. But then you start to realize like, well, why? You ask yourself, why is this happening? Why does this kid think like this? Or why is this kid feeling like this? And there's usually a lot bigger ones for that too. You can't take that personally. Like you can never take that too personally about this kid not liking you, because that's going to happen everywhere in anything you do. Everybody isn't going to like you. So like when you realize that, then because people are so different, and that's what makes everything so great. If we were all the same people, we all like the same things, life would be terrible and boring. The fact that people do different things and like different things, enjoy different things, like some students don't like the way that I teach, but I'm going to try to do my best to help that student learn, because kids are going to learn so differently. So when a kid doesn't like me necessarily, I try to figure out ways to like interact with that student in positive ways, whether that just be starting with something that they like to do, and that's what you find out with even like little activities, like with the question of the day, is that you find out things that students enjoy. They love talking about those things. So if I know a student really likes NASCAR, like I'm going to bring that up to them in the hallway or something like that. And you create that relationship, and it's not necessarily to the point where you want that student to really like you. It's just you want to have that relationship with the kid, because that'll help you more in your classroom. Probably the thing that's helping me be successful in teaching is my work ethic. And I don't like I love working, and I love working hard for something in the end. I'm like a very goal oriented person, so like I want to achieve so many different goals, so many different points, like even just little ones throughout the day. Like I want to wake up at this time. Like that's a goal, because a lot of times you might not achieve that. And especially with somebody like who struggles with sleeping or trying to get up, like that's just a mini goal that you can achieve and feel better about yourself throughout the day. So I think tying that into like the work ethic part is that like being very goal oriented, I can motivate myself to have a better work ethic every single day. And I think that's drastically helped me because I work really, really hard, and not just what I do teaching wise. And I think that's what helps me outside of teaching, is because I work hard at other things that I like. If I worked really hard at teaching and then didn't work hard at other things, I would be a worse teacher. But since I go home and work hard at relationships with people I love, or another job, or mowing the lawn, like I'm very passionate about it. And I think that's what helps me become a better teacher, because I am hardworking at those other things and it makes me work harder. And then having that work ethic too helps me become a better teacher, because the harder I work for my kids, the better they're going to do in my class. If I work really, really hard for this one kid and change this assignment to help them specifically, that's so much more worth it in the end. And that's almost like achieving like those little goals. And that's what makes you feel fulfilled at the end of the day, because you worked really hard and it worked out for this kid at this moment.
That Mr. Klick has by far one of the best passing rates of any of the teachers in our hallway. Um, why why do you think it is that students are oftentimes so successful in
Um, what, Magnus?
class?
Sure.
Yes.
I think honestly, it's because you're so interactive with them, so like engaging with their students that they can like joke about it and get back to work and show that you joke around but you can still learn
Mm-hmm.
at the same time. So it's the first fun person in the class that they can hear. That make people want to go to class. And then they're actually learning the material effectively as well.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, that's my part of the goals too. Um, yeah, that's really cool. I appreciate that a lot. And that's what I try to do. I mean, like being as interactive as possible is yeah, being fun with it. Like, because life is such, and we were talking about this in our question of the other day too, is that like life is such a, I think that life is such an underrated thing, because so many things could happen, and like you have to have fun with it every day. And you have to, like, I have to bring the same energy every single day for like kids and the kids in my classroom, because that's consistent. And a lot of kids don't have consistency in their life and the things that they do, or at home, or anything like that. So having that consistent energy, and like my mom was that consistent energy my entire life. I had never, like, it's insane to think about, but like my mom was the most consistent energy person I've ever met. Like she did the same exact things and brought the same energy and attitude to everything that she did. So like that like drives me a lot, because when I see her now and she's like old now and she is the same energy. I mean, I'm old now, right? So like it's really cool to try to match that and try to be something that she is like, because like I said, like when you walk into that classroom, like that kid is depending on you, and you don't know what kid it is either. Like what kid in the classroom is depending on you to bring that energy for the day. But that's your teaching style as well. Like that's my teaching style. And Miss Gerlach does that in a different way and achieves the same things. And so like I use those things to try to engage as many students as possible and like make it less serious all the time. But like you said, there's like a point where you have to put your foot down, and like we have to do a lot today. Like we have to get this done or this done, or like, hey, you're messing around. Like I can call out any student in my class at any different point, and I feel like they're comfortable with me doing that. And so it's building those relationships. And I think once you have those relationships, I think that really helps with kids wanting to work hard and wanting to work hard for you. I think working hard for you is another big one too, because like they know that I'll work as hard or harder for them if they put in something for me. Ariana? What do I do?
Like, what's your thought process?
Okay, so that's a lot, and that's loaded too, because before, I think I've changed over my teaching career, because originally you just react to things. And especially when you're in like a student teaching aspect or new school or new classroom, usually you react to a situation. Now I try to relax. Like I try to relax and think through the situation and not do anything crazy, because you don't know what's going on. So like you have this a lot of like just like I have this a lot where we see this a lot at our school due to our bells and stuff like that. If a student shows up late, that's a perfect situation where you're like, you can go one of two paths. Like you could, like if you react to that situation, you see this kid is late every day and you freak out on them, you don't know what's happening. Like you don't know if they were in the office or whatever. You just see them late. If they show up late every day, like you could trigger something that completely turns that kid off. So when it comes to making a hard decision, it does take a lot, and you have to take a step back and like you have to breathe. And I've tried to learn how to do that instead of reacting right away, because I used to react right away, and I don't think that was the correct way of doing so. Because then I would think through situations later and be like, why did I say that? Or why did I do that this way? So like when it comes to making tough decisions, I try to like focus on that event or that student or something like that. Usually like take that student outside of the classroom or like talk through that situation, because you don't know what's going on. And you need to find out what's going on before you can make that reaction. But it is like very emotional though.